I'm Abigail Larson. I'm 34. And at my father's retirement party, in front of everyone we knew, he demanded I give him and my brother my entire $10,000 monthly salary forever. It broke my heart, but my mother left me a secret to fight back. Before I share how I stood up to them, please tell me where you're watching from in the comments below and subscribe to join our community. This story is about family, standing up for what's right, and finding strength when those you love let you down. Let me start the story now. Picture a warm evening in Chicago, the kind where the city lights twinkle like stars against the dark. I was sitting in the Silver Oak, a beautiful restaurant with rich wooden tables, soft golden lights, and the comforting smell of grilled steak and fresh bread. The room was alive with the chatter of family and friends, old neighbors, and loyal employees of our family's hardware store, Larson's Home Depot. They were all there to celebrate my father, William Larson, and his 40 years of running the business his own father built from nothing. It was supposed to be a joyful night, a moment to honor a lifetime of hard work. But for me, it became a night that changed everything. I sat at a table near the front, wearing a simple green dress, feeling like I didn't quite belong. Next to me was my boyfriend, Lucas Bennett, his steady hand resting on mine, offering quiet comfort. Beside me was an empty chair, a silent reminder of my mother, Eleanor, who left us when I was just 15. Her absence was a weight I carried every day, a hole in our family that never healed. Across the room, my father stood tall, holding a glass of red wine, his deep voice filling the space as he laughed and greeted old friends. He looked like a king, proud and commanding, soaking in the admiration of everyone around him. My older brother, Ethan, stood by his side, nodding along. Always the favorite. Always the one who could do no wrong in Dad's eyes. I watched them, my heart heavy with a familiar ache, the kind that comes from years of being the invisible daughter. The one who chose books and numbers over the family store. The one who left for college instead of staying to sweep sawdust. As the evening went on, the clink of wine glasses and the hum of laughter filled the air. I tried to smile, to join in the celebration, but deep down I felt out of place. Lucas leaned over, his voice soft, saying he was proud of me for coming, knowing how hard it was to be here. I nodded, squeezing his hand, grateful for his warmth. I thought about my mother, how she used to sit with me at the kitchen table, teaching me to love numbers, telling me my mind was a gift. She saw something in me that Dad never did. He saw Ethan as his mirror, the son who'd carry on the Larson name, while I was just the quiet girl who didn't fit his vision of the family legacy. I pushed those thoughts aside, hoping tonight might be different, that maybe Dad would see me, really see me for once. But I was wrong. As dessert was served, the room grew quiet, and my father stepped up to a small podium, tapping his knife against his glass. The sharp sound cut through the chatter, and every eye turned to him. He began his speech, his voice warm at first, full of pride as he spoke about his father, a hard-working man who built Larson's Home Depot with nothing but grit and a dream. He talked about his own sacrifices, the long hours, the missed family dinners, the years he poured into keeping the store alive. The crowd nodded, some raising their glasses, caught up in his story. Then he turned to Ethan, his face glowing with pride, and raised his glass higher. He called Ethan the loyal son, the one who stayed by his side, ready to carry the family name forward. Ethan stood taller, his chest puffed out, a smug smile spreading across his face. I felt a pang in my chest, but I wasn't surprised. My name wasn't mentioned, not once. I was used to it, the way Dad's eyes slid over me, the way he praised Ethan's every small effort while my years of hard work went unnoticed. I graduated top of my class at Northwestern, built a career as a financial analyst. But to Dad, I was just the daughter who left, who didn't belong in his world of hammers and nails. Then his tone changed. His voice grew low, serious, almost commanding, and his eyes locked onto mine, sharp and unyielding. The room seemed to shrink, the golden lights dimming as he spoke. He said a family legacy demands sacrifice, that it takes everyone pulling together to keep it alive. He said it was time for me, Abigail, to do my duty. Starting that night, he wanted my entire $10,000 monthly salary, every bonus, every cent I'd worked so hard to earn, to go to him and Ethan, to save the store and keep our family name alive. The words hit me like a cold wave, washing away the warmth of the evening. The room went silent, the only sound a faint gasp from someone nearby. Faces turned to me, some curious, some uncomfortable, their eyes boring into me like I was on trial. Ethan looked at me, his smug smile widening, as if he'd known this was coming, as if he'd won some game I didn't even know we were playing. Lucas's hand tightened around mine, his knuckles white, his face a mix of shock and anger. My heart pounded, each beat loud in my ears, but years of being pushed aside had taught me to keep my face steady. Inside, I was breaking, the sting of betrayal cutting deeper than I could have imagined. My father wasn't asking for help. He was demanding my life, everything I'd built, every dream I'd fought for. I thought of my mother, how she'd believed in me, how she'd told me to never let anyone dim my light. In that moment, I felt her strength, a quiet fire starting to burn inside me. I stood up, my legs steady despite the weight of every stare in the room. I looked straight at my father, his confident expression faltering just slightly, and said in a clear, calm voice that I'd need time to think about his request. Ethan's smile faded, his brow furrowing in surprise. Dad blinked, caught off guard, expecting me to crumble or argue. But I wasn't going to give him that. I took Lucas's hand and we walked out, the crowd parting silently, their whispers following us like a shadow. Outside, the Chicago night was cold, the wind biting at my face, the city lights glittering like distant promises. As we reached the sidewalk, my Aunt Evelyn caught up, her face pale, her eyes wide with worry. She pulled me aside under a flickering street lamp and spoke in a trembling voice. She told me not to agree to anything, that my mother, Eleanor, had left me something important, something to protect me. She said to call her the next morning, that I needed to know the truth before my father and brother could take everything from me. I nodded, a spark of hope igniting in my chest, mixing with the pain and anger. Lucas and I got in the car, the silence between us heavy but comforting, like a shared promise. As we drove through the city, the lights blurring past, Evelyn's words echoed in my mind. I felt betrayed, hurt by the family I'd tried so hard to please, but I also felt something new, a strength I hadn't known was there. My mother had left me something, a secret I didn't yet understand, but I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't going to let them break me. Not that night, not ever. Friends, as I share this story, I think about the times we've all felt let down by those we love, the moments when family asks too much, when loyalty feels like a weight instead of a bond. Have you ever faced a moment like that, when someone you trusted turned against you? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. This night at the Silver Oak was just the beginning, a moment that broke my heart, but also set me on a path to fight for what's right. My father thought he could take everything from me, but he didn't know about the gift my mother left behind. A gift that would change everything. Stick with me, because this story is about more than money. It's about family, about standing up when the world expects you to kneel, about finding your strength when those you love let you down. The car glided through the quiet streets of Chicago, the city lights flickering like distant stars against the dark sky. As I sat beside Lucas, my heart still raw from the sting of my father's words at his retirement party. William Larson, the man who'd poured 40 years into building Larson's Home Depot, had stood before a room full of friends, neighbors, and employees at the Silver Oak restaurant and demanded I hand over my entire $10,000 monthly salary, every penny, forever, to save his struggling hardware store and prop up my older brother, Ethan, his golden child. The words cut deep, like a cold blade slicing through years of effort to earn his approval. I'd worked tirelessly to build a career as a financial analyst, to make my parents proud, but to Dad, I was just a tool, a means to keep his legacy alive while Ethan basked in his favor. Lucas reached over, his hand warm and steady against mine, his voice soft as he promised we'd face this together. I saw the anger in his eyes, Not for himself, but for me, for the way my own family had humiliated me under the warm golden lights of that elegant restaurant, with the clink of wine glasses and the smell of grilled steak still lingering in my memory. As we pulled into the parking lot of my modest apartment, I couldn't shake Aunt Evelyn's urgent whisper from earlier that night, delivered under a dim street lamp outside the Silver Oak. She'd told me not to agree to anything, that my mother, Eleanor, who passed away when I was 15, had left something to protect me. Sleep eluded me that night, my mind tangled in questions. What had Mom left? Why did Evelyn's voice tremble with fear? What truth was waiting to change everything? As I lay in the dark, memories of my childhood flooded back, each one a sharp reminder of the unfairness that had shaped me, a weight I'd carried for years, heavy as the sawdust-filled air of the family store. I was 12 again, standing in the back of Larson's Home Depot, the air thick with the scent of sawdust and metal, clutching a math award from school, a shiny certificate I'd worked so hard to earn. I held it up to Dad, my heart swelling with hope that he'd finally see me, that he'd be proud of the daughter who stayed up late solving equations, who dreamed of a future beyond the store's wooden shelves. But his eyes were fixed on Ethan, who was 16 and fumbling with a stack of lumber, dropping planks with a loud clatter. Dad clapped him on the back, laughing off the mistake, saying Ethan would learn in time, that he was the future of the store. My certificate went unnoticed, my excitement fading as Dad muttered something about Ethan needing help with the delivery. I stood there, the paper crinkling in my hands, my throat tight with disappointment. That was how it always was. Ethan, the son who could do no wrong, was the center of Dad's world, while I was the shadow, the quiet girl who loved numbers more than hammers. I remembered another moment at 14 when I overheard Dad talking to a customer in the store's paint aisle. I was organizing screws nearby, my hands sorting tiny metal pieces into bins, when I heard him say, Ethan was his legacy, the one who'd carry the Larson name forward. His voice was full of pride, and I felt my heart sink, realizing I wasn't part of his vision. Not then. Not ever. I kept working, my hands moving faster, as if I could organize away the hurt. The worst memory came when I was 18, accepted to Northwestern University with a partial scholarship. I was thrilled, dreaming of a future where my love for numbers could shine, a future Mom had always believed in. She'd been gone 3 years by then, taken by cancer, but I still felt her encouragement. Her voice in my ear telling me my mind was a gift no one could take away. I went to Dad, bursting with excitement, only to find him hunched over his desk in the store's back office, papers scattered, his face lined with stress. When I asked about my college fund, the one Mom had saved for me, his eyes hardened. He admitted he'd used it to cover Ethan's failed attempt at opening a second store location, a reckless plan that collapsed within months, leaving suppliers unpaid and debts piling up. The account was empty, my dreams nearly shattered. I stood there, stunned, as he said I'd figure it out. That family came first, meaning Ethan and the store came first. I worked 3 jobs to pay my tuition, tutoring kids after school, waiting tables on weekends, shelving books in the university library until midnight. My hands shook from exhaustion, my eyes burned from late-night study sessions, but every aching muscle, every sleepless night was a reminder of how little Dad valued me. I graduated top of my class, built a career I was proud of, but those years left scars, a quiet anger that simmered beneath the surface. Now, sitting in my apartment, those memories burned hotter, fueling a resolve to fight back. I wasn't just defending my salary. I was fighting for every moment I'd been pushed aside, every sacrifice I'd made to prove I was enough. The next morning, I drove to a small coffee shop just outside Chicago, a cozy place with wooden booths, checkered tablecloths, and the warm smell of fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls. The morning light filtered through the windows, casting soft shadows on the worn wooden floor, and the clink of porcelain cups mingled with the low hum of conversation. Aunt Evelyn was already there, sitting in a corner booth, her gray hair pulled back in a neat bun, her hands wrapped around a steaming mug of chamomile tea. She looked older than I remembered, lines etched deeper around her eyes, but there was a fire in her gaze. a determination that reminded me so much of Mom it made my chest ache. She didn't waste time, her voice low and urgent as she slid a worn yellow envelope across the table. She said Mom had seen this day coming, had known Dad would try to take everything from me to save Ethan and the store. I opened the envelope with trembling hands, pulling out a letter in Mom's elegant handwriting and a stack of legal documents titled the Eleanor M. Larson Family Trust. Evelyn's voice softened as she began to tell me the story, her words painting a picture of Mom's final days. Mom had inherited a modest sum from her own parents, a small inheritance she'd kept secret from Dad, knowing his pride would cloud his judgment, that he'd pour it into the store or Ethan's reckless ideas. With that money, she'd created a trust to protect me, with a powerful rule called a poison pill. If anyone in the family tried to exploit another financially or harm their reputation, the victim, meaning me, would gain full control of the trust and its assets, a fund worth enough to change the course of our family's future. Evelyn paused, her eyes glistening, and said, Mom had sat up late one night, weak from her illness, writing the letter I now held, pouring her heart into every word, determined to give me a shield against Dad's demands. I unfolded Mom's letter, my breath catching as I read her words. She wrote that she loved me more than I could ever know, that she saw my strength, my mind, my heart, even when Dad couldn't. She feared his pride would blind him, that Ethan's weakness would pull him down a path that would hurt me most. She called the trust my sword, not for revenge, but to stand up for my worth, to protect the life I'd build with my own hands. She wrote of her pride in my determination, my love for numbers, the way I'd sit at our old kitchen table, pencil in hand, solving equations while she cooked dinner. She remembered how I'd light up when I solved a problem, how I'd read books about finance under the covers with a flashlight. She said she knew I'd face challenges, that Dad's love for the store and Ethan might overshadow me, but she wanted me to know I was enough, that I was her light. Tears streamed down my face as I read, each word like a hug across time, wrapping me in her love, filling the hole her absence had left. I looked up at Evelyn, my voice breaking as I asked why Mom never told me. Evelyn reached across the table, squeezing my hand, her own eyes wet. She said Mom had cried in her final days, not for herself, but for me, worried I'd be crushed under Dad's demands, that Ethan's failures would become my burden. Mom trusted my strength, Evelyn said, trusted that I'd use this gift to carve my own path, to stand tall when the world tried to push me down. I clutched the letter to my chest, a fire igniting inside me, a resolve to honor Mom's memory, to prove she was right about me. I thanked Evelyn, promising to call her after I spoke to a lawyer, and left the coffee shop with a new sense of purpose. The morning sun felt warmer, the world brighter, as I drove back to my apartment, Mom's words echoing in my heart like a promise I'd never break. I felt her with me, her strength a steady light guiding me forward, and I knew I wasn't alone. But that spark of hope was tested sooner than I expected. 3 days later, I was called into my boss's office at the financial firm where I'd worked for a decade. Charlotte Hayes, a woman I admired for her fairness and sharp mind, sat behind her polished granite desk, the Chicago skyline glittering through the tall windows behind her, a contrast to the heavy air in the room. Her face was troubled, her voice heavy with hesitation, as she told me she'd received disturbing calls from my father and Ethan. They'd claimed I was unstable, that I'd been mishandling client funds, accusations so vicious, so far from the truth, that I felt the air leave my lungs. My hands shook as I sat across from her, my heart pounding with a mix of shock and betrayal. I'd spent 10 years building my career, earning respect through late nights analyzing data, crafting financial plans for clients, staying late to perfect every report. My colleagues trusted me, my clients relied on me, and I'd never given anyone a reason to doubt my integrity. Now, my own family was trying to tear it all down, not just to take my money, but to destroy my reputation, the very core of who I'd become. Charlotte was kind, her voice soft as she said she'd need to investigate, that the firm couldn't ignore such serious claims, especially from family. But her words felt like a warning, a crack in the foundation of my life. If I lost this job, I'd lose everything: my independence, my savings, my chance at a stable future. I managed to keep my voice steady, promising to provide any proof she needed to clear my name. But as I left her office, my legs felt heavy, my mind reeling with disbelief. I walked to my car, the city bustling around me, horns honking, people hurrying past. But I felt alone, as if the world had turned against me. How could they do this? Wasn't it enough to demand my salary in front of everyone? Why did they need to ruin my name, my life? I drove home, the skyline blurring through tears I refused to let fall, and locked myself in my apartment, pacing the small living room, trying to make sense of their cruelty. I thought of Mom's letter, her warning about Dad's pride and Ethan's weakness, and felt a surge of determination. They wanted to break me, to strip away everything I'd built. But I wasn't going to let them. I called Lucas, my voice trembling with rage, and poured out everything: the accusations, the lies, the fear that I could lose my job. He listened quietly, his steady presence a lifeline, then said I was stronger than they knew, that we'd fight this together. His words pulled me back from the edge, reminding me I had people in my corner, people who believed in me. That night, I sat at my desk in my apartment, the glow of my laptop casting long shadows across the room. Papers were scattered everywhere: old bank statements, store records, anything I could find about Larson's Home Depot. I hadn't looked at the store's finances in years, trusting Dad to manage it, assuming he knew best. But now, I needed answers, needed to understand why they were coming for me so viciously. What I found made my blood run cold. The store was drowning in debt, suppliers unpaid for months, invoices stacked up with red overdue stamps. Loans had been taken out left and right, with no clear plan to repay them. The store's accounts a mess of bad decisions and mismanagement. But that wasn't the worst of it. Buried in a folder of scanned documents, I found a loan agreement for $500,000 taken out in my name, with my signature scrawled across the page in black ink. Except I hadn't signed it. My father had forged my name, making me legally responsible for a debt I knew nothing about. My heart stopped as I dug deeper, my fingers trembling as I clicked through bank records, credit card statements, anything I could access through the store's shared accounts. The truth was worse than I'd imagined. Ethan had used the money, not to save the store, but to buy a sleek new sports car, its red paint gleaming in photos he'd posted online, to fund lavish trips to Miami and Las Vegas, to pay for expensive dinners and luxury clothes, all while the store sank deeper into debt. I found receipts for a $10,000 watch, a $5,000 hotel stay, things that had nothing to do with the family legacy Dad claimed to protect. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I'd felt before, a knife twisting in my chest, sharp and unrelenting. They hadn't just demanded my salary at the party, they'd used my name, my future, to fund their failures, to keep up the illusion of their success while pushing me toward ruin. I sat back, staring at the screen, my hands shaking with a mix of rage and fear. If that loan defaulted, I could lose everything: my savings, my credit, my chance at a home, a family, a life of my own. I thought of Mom's letter, her words about standing tall, about using the trust to protect my worth. I felt her strength, a quiet fire burning brighter inside me, pushing back the fear. I wasn't just fighting for my salary or my job anymore. I was fighting for my life, for the truth, for the love she'd left me. I called Olivia Grant, a lawyer who specialized in family trusts, the next morning. My voice was steadier now, fueled by the fire Mom's letter had ignited. I sent her the trust documents and the forged loan papers, explaining everything: the accusations at work, the loan in my name, Ethan's spending. Olivia listened carefully, her voice calm but confident over the phone. She said my mother had given me a powerful tool, that the poison pill clause in the trust was airtight, designed to protect me from exactly this kind of betrayal. She said the forged signature was a serious crime, one we could use not just to clear my name, but to take control of the trust and hold Dad and Ethan accountable. She asked for time to review the documents, to build a case, but her words gave me hope, a sense that I could fight back, that Mom's gift was more than a letter. It was a shield and a sword. As I hung up, I looked at Mom's letter again, her handwriting steady and clear, like a beacon in the darkness. I wasn't alone. I had her wisdom, Lucas's support, Evelyn's trust, and now Olivia's expertise. I called Lucas again, needing to hear his voice, and told him about the loan, the lies, the plan forming with Olivia. He came over, sitting with me on my small couch, the city lights twinkling outside my window. He held my hand, his eyes fierce with determination, and said we'd face this together, that no one could take my future from me. I leaned into him, feeling a strength I hadn't known I had, a strength Mom had seen all those years ago. I thought of her, sitting at our old kitchen table, her smile warm as she watched me solve equations, her voice telling me I could do anything. I wasn't going to let Dad and Ethan dim that light. Friends, I know many of you have felt this kind of betrayal, when those you love, those you trust, turn against you, taking what you've worked so hard to build. Maybe it was a family member who broke a promise, who took something precious, who tried to dim your light. I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below, because we're in this together. A community of people who've faced hard times and found the strength to keep going. This moment, discovering their lies, their schemes, was when I realized I couldn't just sit back. My father and brother thought they could take my money, my name, my future. But they didn't know about the gift my mother had left me, a gift that would change everything. The battle was just beginning, and I was ready to stand up. Not just for me, but for the mother who believed in me when no one else did. For the truth she wanted me to find. For the life she wanted me to live. The weight of my father's betrayal and my brother Ethan's lies pressed down on me like a storm cloud, heavy and unyielding, as I sat alone in my small Chicago apartment. The soft glow of a desk lamp cast a warm circle of light across my mother's letter, its pages worn from being held so often. Her handwritten words a lifeline pulling me through the darkness. William Larson, my father, had stood before everyone we knew at his retirement party at the Silver Oak, a grand restaurant with its warm golden lights and polished wooden tables, and demanded I surrender my entire $10,000 monthly salary. He said it was to save Larson's Home Depot, the family hardware store he'd run for 40 years, and to prop up Ethan, his favored son, who he believed would carry on the family legacy. That moment, in front of family, friends, and employees, was humiliating enough. But they didn't stop there. My father and Ethan went further, spreading vicious lies to my boss, Charlotte Hayes, at the financial firm where I'd worked tirelessly for over a decade. They claimed I was unstable, that I'd mishandled funds, putting my career, my reputation, everything I'd built at risk. Worst of all, I uncovered a $500,000 loan they'd forged in my name, a reckless act that tied me to a debt I didn't create. Ethan had squandered the money on luxuries, a sleek sports car, lavish trips to Miami, a $10,000 watch that gleamed on his wrist, while the store sank deeper into debt, its shelves growing bare, its accounts in chaos. But my mother, Eleanor, had seen this coming. She left me a legacy, the Eleanor M. Larson Family Trust, with a powerful poison pill clause designed to protect me. It was a shield, a sword, a gift from a mother who knew the challenges I'd face. My lawyer, Olivia Grant, a woman with a sharp mind and a steady voice, confirmed the trust could protect me, and the forged signature was a crime we could use to hold them accountable. As I prepared to face my father and brother, I felt my mother's strength flowing through me, a quiet fire burning brighter with each step I took. Friends, have you ever had to stand up to someone you loved? To fight for what's right even when it broke your heart? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below because this journey is one we share. It's about standing tall, about finding strength in the face of betrayal, about honoring those who believed in us. Let me take you through the moment I fought back, the moment I honored my mother's legacy and faced the truth head-on, determined to reclaim my life and my future. A week after discovering the forged loan, I walked into a sleek conference room at Olivia Grant's law office, my heart pounding but my resolve as firm as the granite table before me. The Chicago skyline stretched out beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, the river below sparkling in the morning light, a serene contrast to the storm brewing inside. The room smelled faintly of polished wood and fresh coffee, the long mahogany table reflecting the sunlight in a way that felt almost too bright for the tension that filled the space. Olivia sat beside me, her gray suit sharp and professional, her calm demeanor a steady anchor in the chaos. Lucas, my boyfriend, was there too, his hand brushing mine under the table, his quiet presence a reminder that I wasn't alone. Aunt Evelyn sat behind us, her eyes filled with worry, but also a deep, unwavering faith in me. Across the table sat my father, William, his broad shoulders stiff, his jaw set, his hands fidgeting with his tie as he avoided my gaze. Ethan slouched beside him, his expensive watch catching the light, a smug smirk playing on his lips as if he believed he'd already won this battle. Olivia opened the meeting, her voice clear and commanding, cutting through the heavy air like a blade. She said we were here to address the Eleanor M. Larson Family Trust and serious allegations of misconduct by William and Ethan Larson. I stood, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest, and spoke directly to them. My father forged my signature to secure a $500,000 loan, putting me at risk of legal liability. Ethan spent that money on a sports car, trips to Miami, and that $10,000 watch on his wrist, while Larson's Home Depot drowned in debt, unable to pay its suppliers or keep its shelves stocked. Olivia placed documents on the table, each page a damning piece of evidence. The forged loan agreement with my name scrawled in a hand that wasn't mine. Bank records showing Ethan's lavish purchases, receipts for luxury vacations, and a glaring red past due stamp on the store's accounts. My father's face paled, his knuckles whitening as he gripped the table, his eyes finally meeting mine for a fleeting moment, a flicker of shame crossing his face before he looked away. Ethan's smirk vanished, his eyes darting to our father, his voice faltering as he stammered, "She's lying. There's no proof." Olivia raised a hand, her expression unyielding, and presented legal documents confirming my control of the trust. She explained my mother's poison pill clause, a safeguard Eleanor had designed with foresight and love. If anyone exploited a family member's finances or harmed their reputation, that person would gain full control of the trust's assets. My father and Ethan's actions, forging my signature, spreading lies to my employer, had triggered the clause, handing me power over funds my mother had set aside, enough to clear the loan and secure my future. I looked at my father, my voice trembling with emotion but firm. "I don't want to destroy our family, but I won't let you and Ethan destroy me." Olivia added, her tone cold and precise, that the forged signature was a felony and we were fully prepared to take the matter to court if necessary. The room fell silent, the weight of their actions hanging heavy, like a storm about to break. My father's shoulders slumped, his confidence crumbling, while Ethan shifted uncomfortably, his bravado gone. I felt my mother's presence, her words from the letter echoing in my mind, urging me to stand tall, to fight for what was right. As we left the office, Lucas squeezed my hand, his voice soft but firm. "You did the right thing, Abby." I felt a spark of victory, a sense that I'd taken the first step toward justice, but I knew the fight was far from over. The truth was out, but my father and brother were not the kind to surrender easily. That evening, I drove to Aunt Evelyn's small house on the edge of Chicago, a cozy haven where the scent of lavender mingled with the warmth of a crackling fireplace. The living room was a comforting embrace, its walls lined with family photos, many of my mother, Eleanor, her smile radiant, her eyes bright with love and determination. Evelyn greeted me with a tight hug, her voice trembling with pride. "You've made your mother so proud, Abby." She led me to a worn floral couch, her hands clasped in her lap, her eyes shining with emotion as she sat me down to share a deeper secret about my mother's legacy. Before she passed, Eleanor had invested in a small warehouse on the outskirts of the city, a property she'd kept hidden from my father, knowing he'd use it to fund the store's endless debts or Ethan's reckless schemes. Evelyn handed me another letter from my mother, its pages shorter but no less powerful, written in her familiar, elegant handwriting. I pictured my mother, young and resolute, standing before that warehouse, signing papers with a lawyer, her heart set on protecting me. Her voice came to me, soft and loving, as if she were speaking across the years. Abby, I did this so you could stand strong even when I'm gone. The letter read, "This warehouse is your final shield. Use it to build your future, not for revenge, but for justice. It's a piece of my heart to remind you that you are never alone." Tears welled up as I read, the paper trembling in my hands, but a smile broke through, a warmth spreading in my chest as I felt my mother's love reaching across time. Evelyn explained that my mother had seen my father's favoritism, his blindness to my worth, his willingness to sacrifice my dreams for Ethan's failures. The warehouse, now worth millions, was her gift to me, a legacy he couldn't touch, a symbol of her faith in my strength. I hugged Evelyn, my voice choked with emotion as I promised. Mom saw everything coming. I'll use this gift to make her proud, to build something true and lasting. Evelyn's eyes glistened as she whispered, "You're everything she hoped you'd be. That warehouse wasn't just property. It was my mother's love, her belief in me when the world turned its back." As I drove home under the starry Chicago sky, the city lights twinkling like a promise, I felt stronger than ever, as if my mother walked beside me, her hand on my shoulder, guiding me toward a future I could shape. The quiet hum of the car, the cool night air, the weight of her letter in my bag. It all felt like a sacred moment, a turning point where I began to see the path ahead. Clearing my name was the next step, and it wouldn't be easy. I invited close family, friends, and key members of our community to a gathering at a local community center, a simple brick building with folding chairs arranged in neat rows and a coffee urn steaming in the corner. My heart pounded as I stood at the front, Lucas and Evelyn by my side, their presence a steady anchor in the sea of faces before me. I held a microphone, my hands steady despite the nerves, and raised copies of the forged loan documents, bank records, and my mother's letter, each piece a testament to the truth. My voice rang out, clear and unwavering. My father and Ethan forged my signature to secure a loan I didn't know about, stole my college fund to cover Ethan's failed ventures, and spread lies to my employer to ruin my reputation. But my mother left me a trust, and now I control it to save Larson's Home Depot, not by giving in to their demands, but by doing what's right. The room was quiet, the air thick with tension, some faces etched with shock, others nodding in quiet support, a few whispering in disbelief. I continued, my voice softening but firm. I'm not here to tear our family apart. I'm here to stand up for what's right, to honor my mother's memory, to build a legacy we can all be proud of. Dorothy Miller, our neighbor and co-trustee of the trust, stood up, her voice trembling but resolute. Eleanor entrusted me to protect Abigail. She knew the truth about this family, and I'm proud to stand with her daughter today. Mr. Henry, a former employee who'd worked at the store for decades, rose next, his weathered face full of conviction. I saw Ethan waste the store's money for years, spending on himself while the business suffered. Eleanor would be proud of you, Abby, for standing up like this. Others joined in, their voices rising in a chorus of support, sharing stories of my father's favoritism, of Ethan's reckless spending, of the times they'd seen me overlooked, dismissed, or taken for granted. The weight I'd carried for so long began to lift, replaced by a sense of belonging, of being seen. Charlotte, my boss, stood quietly in the back, her expression softening as she listened to the truth unfold. After the gathering, she pulled me aside, her voice calm but warm. "We're dropping the investigation, Abby. You've proven your integrity, and I'm proud to have you on my team." For the first time in weeks, hope bloomed in my heart, a quiet certainty that I could reclaim my life, my name, my future. Lucas squeezed my hand as we left, his smile a beacon of pride, and Evelyn hugged me, her eyes shining with tears of joy. I felt my mother's presence, her love steadying me, her words urging me to keep going. But my father and Ethan weren't done fighting. Days later, I heard whispers rippling through the community. Rumors that twisted the truth like a knife. They said I was destroying the family legacy, that I was greedy, ungrateful, a traitor to the Larson name. My father had been meeting with old customers at local diners, his voice smooth and convincing as he painted me as the villain, claiming I was tearing apart everything he'd built. Ethan took to the internet, posting lies on social media, accusing me of betraying the family, of stealing the trust for my own gain. Each rumor stung, a fresh wound in a battle I thought I'd already won. I wasn't surprised. They'd always been skilled at rallying others, using charm and half-truths to protect their image, to keep the world on their side. But what came next caught me off guard, a wave of support I never expected. Mr. Henry called me one evening, his voice steady and kind. "Abby, I've talked to a group of former employees and loyal customers who know the truth. We believe in you, and we want to help." Evelyn told me cousins I hadn't spoken to in years had reached out, offering to stand by me, to speak up against the lies. Even Charlotte sent an email, her words firm and reassuring. "The firm is dropping the investigation, Abby. Your record is clean and we're behind you." I sat in my apartment, the city lights glowing softly through the window, and read their messages, my mother's letter resting on my desk like a talisman. A surge of strength coursed through me, a realization that I wasn't fighting alone anymore. The battle wasn't over. My father and Ethan were planning one final counterattack, rallying the community to their side, determined to bring me down. But I had my mother's legacy, her trust, her warehouse, her love, and now, a growing circle of allies who believed in me. Friends, have you ever found unexpected allies when you stood up for yourself? People who lifted you up when the world tried to tear you down? Share your stories in the comments below because we're a community, stronger together. My father and Ethan thought they could silence me, but they didn't know the power of my mother's legacy, or the people who stood with me. Hit that subscribe button to follow this journey, to see how this fight ends, because the truth was coming, and I was ready. The battle had been long and heart-wrenching, but as I sat in my cozy apartment, the Chicago skyline glowing softly through the window, a quiet strength settled deep within me. My father, William Larson, and my brother Ethan had pushed me to the edge, demanding my entire $10,000 monthly salary at my father's retirement party to prop up Larson's Home Depot and Ethan, the son my father always favored. They went further, spreading cruel lies to my boss, Charlotte Hayes, claiming I was unstable and mishandling funds, threatening the career I'd built over a decade. Worst of all, they forged my name on a $500,000 loan, with Ethan wasting the money on luxuries while the store sank into debt. But my mother, Eleanor, had seen their betrayal coming. She left me the Eleanor M. Larson Family Trust, with its powerful poison pill clause, and a hidden warehouse worth millions, gifts that gave me the power to fight back. With my lawyer, Olivia Grant, my Aunt Evelyn, and unexpected allies like Mr. Henry, I took control of the trust, exposed their lies, and cleared my name. Still, whispers of their counterattacks lingered in the community, rumors painting me as the one tearing our family apart. I knew the fight wasn't over, but I also knew I wasn't alone. My mother's love, her unwavering faith in me, and the growing circle of people who stood by me gave me the courage to see this through. Friends, have you ever faced a moment where you had to rebuild something broken? Not just for yourself, but for those you love? Share your stories in the comments below, because here at Hidden Family Revenge Stories, we're a community, stronger together. Let me take you through the final chapter of this journey, where I rebuilt our family's legacy, found peace, and honored my mother's vision. With the trust and the warehouse under my control, I set out to save Larson's Home Depot, not in the way my father wanted, but in a way that would make it a beacon for our community. I returned to Olivia Grant's law office, the same sleek room where I'd faced my father and brother, now filled with the soft light of a new morning. The air carried the faint scent of fresh coffee, and papers were spread across the granite table, outlining my vision for the future. Olivia, her gray suit as sharp as her mind, walked me through the legal steps. We would use the trust's funds to pay off the $500,000 loan, clearing my name from any liability, and buy back the store from its creditors. The warehouse, my mother's secret gift, would be sold to finance a complete modernization. New inventory systems to track supplies, energy-efficient lighting to brighten the aisles, and a website to bring our store into the modern age with online orders. I wanted Larson's Home Depot to thrive, to be a place where neighbors could find what they needed, where families could trust in its reliability. As we worked, I felt my mother's wisdom guiding every decision, her love woven into every plan. Olivia looked at me, her eyes warm with admiration. "You're not just saving the store, Abby. You're building something new, something your mother would be so proud of." I smiled, my heart swelling, and proposed a new name, Larson and Daughters Hardware, a tribute to my mother, Eleanor, and a declaration that this legacy belonged to me too. We signed the paperwork, and as I walked out, the Chicago River sparkling beyond the window, I felt a deep sense of purpose. I wasn't just saving a business. I was honoring my mother by doing things the right way, with integrity and care. Bringing Ethan back into the fold was my next challenge, and it required patience. I invited him to meet at a small diner near the store, a familiar place with red vinyl booths and the comforting aroma of pancakes and coffee. Ethan arrived, his usual flashy watch gone, his eyes tired but carrying a hint of humility I hadn't seen before. I spoke calmly, laying out my plan. The trust would provide a modest retirement income for our father, ensuring he was cared for without controlling the store. Ethan could stay on as a manager, reporting to a new board, but he'd need to enroll in a business management course to learn how to contribute responsibly. I looked at him, my voice steady. "This isn't about punishment, Ethan. It's about building something we can all be proud of, together, as a family." He looked down, his hands fidgeting with a napkin, then nodded slowly, his voice soft. "I messed up, Abby. I'm sorry." For the first time, I saw the brother I'd known as a child, before our father's favoritism drove us apart. We shook hands, a small but meaningful gesture, a step toward rebuilding what had been broken. Back at the store, now proudly named Larson and Daughters Hardware, I oversaw the renovations. Workers hammered and painted, installing new shelves that gleamed under bright lights. A sleek sign with the new name hung above the entrance, catching the sunlight and the eyes of passers-by. Customers began to return, their smiles and friendly chatter a sign that the store was becoming a cornerstone of the community again. I stood in the middle of the bustling aisles, watching the transformation, and felt my mother's love in every detail, her legacy alive in the hum of activity, the promise of a new beginning. Reconciliation with my father came more slowly, but it came, and it felt like a quiet miracle. I invited the family to a small engagement party for Lucas and me, held in our backyard in a peaceful Chicago suburb. Fairy lights twinkled above, casting a warm glow over tables laden with food, the air filled with laughter and the gentle clink of glasses. Ethan arrived with his wife and young daughter, a shy smile on his face as he approached me. He thanked me, his voice sincere. "You gave me a second chance, Abby. I'm trying to make it right." I hugged him, feeling the first threads of healing weave between us, a hope that we could be a family again. My father came too, his posture softer, his usual confidence replaced by a quiet humility I'd never seen before. He pulled me aside, his hand resting awkwardly on my shoulder, and said, "You've built a good life, Abby. Your mother was right about you." His words were simple, almost clumsy, but they carried a weight of regret and respect that warmed my heart. Aunt Evelyn joined us, her eyes bright with tears, and handed me a small velvet box. Inside was my mother's wedding ring, a delicate band etched with tiny flowers, gleaming softly in the light. Evelyn said, "Eleanor wanted you to have this when you found true love." I slipped the ring onto my finger, my heart swelling as I looked at Lucas, his smile warm and steady across the yard. The moment felt sacred, a bridge between the past and the future, a testament to my mother's love enduring through time. I held Evelyn's hand, grateful for her unwavering support, and felt my family, fractured but healing, coming together under the starry sky. As the party faded into soft laughter and warm goodbyes, I stood before the newly renovated Larson and Daughters Hardware, the Chicago skyline glowing in the distance, and spoke directly to you, our viewers at Hidden Family Revenge Stories. My worth was never about the money my father demanded or the approval he withheld. It was about choosing to stand tall, breaking the cycle of injustice in our family, and building a legacy rooted in respect, love, and fairness. My mother gave me the tools to fight, not just for myself, but for what's right, for a future where no one is overlooked or taken for granted. Larson and Daughters Hardware stands as a testament to her love, a place where our community can thrive, where her legacy lives on. Friends, have you ever had to redefine what family means to you? To fight for a legacy that reflects your values? Share your stories in the comments below, because at Hidden Family Revenge Stories, we believe every journey of courage and justice deserves to be heard. If this story moved you, please give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you never miss our next tale of triumph over betrayal. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Together, we'll keep uncovering the hidden stories that inspire us all, right here on Hidden Family Revenge Stories.